Welcome to the Captain Jamtastic podcast with me, my special guest, my favorite guest of all time, and
Oh,
I've had quite a few now. So that's quite an accomplishment. We have Bright. Thank you,
let's
Bright.
go. Thank you, sir.
Nobody else will ever do the podcast. I feel like he's thrown me under the bus immediately. Just kidding. I love all my guests. So uh, we're gonna do some fun stuff today. We're gonna kind of talk about playoff chances and you know all everything season 21 essentially. That's what we got. So let's just dive right in, huh? Why waste time?
Let's just jump into it.
Yeah. So I got a graphic which I haven't not given you. It's of the playoff race. Oh, actually, I did give it to you, so you can look if you want.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, the playoff race. We see what it is, and pretty much no teams in red, which means everybody still technically has a chance with 2 weeks to go.
Let's hype.
Yeah, I don't think it's been this way in past seasons. Especially the parity because most teams are at or close to 500, uh,
hmm
and only Ball or Nothing down at the bottom really needs some help to get in. But we'll dive into that into a second. I don't think anything is you know over, so to speak. So first up, we're going to talk about the Garen damn tease. That was my best The Rock impression. And it's going to be the two teams mashing up this week. First up, Ranked Thugs. Did an interview with Messi. Don't like the team anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Ranked Thugs 8011, second place. Okay then, aka Amaru Pulpo, Grumpy Tie. They look great. I don't think there's too much to say about them. Jump in, take a look at their schedule. They have ABO this week, the huge matchup, and then Rektiles. At 25 wins, or 25 points. If they had 25 wins, that'd be incredible because there hasn't been that many games. But at
hmm
25 points, they're guaranteed a playoff spot. The ninth place team would need to sweep out, and that would only bring them to 22. So no
Oh,
matter
yeah.
what happens the rest of the way, Rank Thugs are in.
hmm
Do you like this team for the playoffs?
Yeah, I thought I thought Holdin Gate was like the first like real test they had this season, and
Mm-hmm.
then they kind of threw in the second game, and they did okay in the first game, but from what Curry said, it sounded like that Curry should have won both games, which is interesting. And I want to see how they play against ABO and Rectiles because I think those are probably like the top three teams they'll play this season.
Yeah.
I think okay then we'll try a lot harder in playoffs when it actually matters. And I was worried about how I haven't seen Pulpo that much, but
Mm-hmm.
okay then Pulpo haven't been doing as well as I thought they would, so they might struggle a bit on offense. I think the defense is great from what I've seen. I saw like 2 games of theirs,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think okay then they'll like super try hard in playoffs, and then they'll do well, but they might struggle against especially ABO, maybe like one gate,
Yeah, it's kind of
but.
interesting. As you're saying, okay, then his hold numbers are way up, and Pulpo is actually the cap leader with high grabbing strats, but
Mhm.
they haven't really put up as many captures as you would have anticipated, at least coming into the season, if the defense was playing as well as they are.
Yeah, it's really surprising.
Yeah, so on a scale of I think going into last week prior to playing Holden Gate, I think everybody had them as an unquestionable top two team, if not top one team. But after
Yeah,
the
I would have
Holden,
them at number one, I think.
yeah, but after the Holden Gate game, at least for me, it was like, oh well, not necessarily that ranked thugs aren't as good as we thought. It's just that other teams are better than we thought, and
hmm
I think the door is kind of opened up for everybody.
I think they're still probably a top two team,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm less confident in them now than I was at the start. I thought they were unquestionably the best team at the start.
Yeah.
Then I thought they were like slightly above AVO, but now probably not.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Like you said, the last 2 weeks are their two biggest tests. Their schedule has been not exactly a cakewalk. They've played some legit teams, with the exception of Ball or Nothing. All those teams have winning records. And then, Red Hot Chili Peppers obviously do not have a winning record either, but they're a lot closer than people think. So I kind of think their schedule is gonna the preparation for the playoffs for them has been better than the team we're about to talk about next.
Yeah, that's true.
We're gonna talk about your good friends, a Blockwork Orange. So Blockwork, as we all know, 9010 first place. Ballerina, Ball Don't Lie, Mex, and Frothy. Now, I had the pleasure of talking with both Mex and Ball Don't Lie, and big fan of their team. Probably more so after talking to both those guys. They're really fun, really cool to
Yeah.
hang out with, and definitely rooting for them the rest of the season. I was trying to think of a funny way to slam Ball Don't Lie because I feel like everybody kind of does, but I don't know. I really enjoyed talking to him, so I have nothing bad to say. He's a good dude, if you ask me.
Yep, nothing bad to say here.
Yeah, and their season, obviously, that first OT loss to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then no one's really touched him since. Centra of Attention came close in week 2, but after that, it's been kind of blowout city. So,
Mm-hmm.
in the same respect as Rank Thugs, it's going to be a pretty good matchup this week for them because this will be their biggest test as well, and I think 877 is going to give them a pretty hard test, also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But do you like their chances in the playoff right now? Do you think they're number 1 in the league right now? Do you think after 2 weeks they're still going to be the perennial favorite?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Mess is like on another level. Fadi's really good. Bottom line Ballerina, I don't know. I wasn't a fan of how they play. They're super aggressive driving, but it works like every time they do it. Except like one scrim I was in where they like got shut down, but they like pretty much always get like a bump grab, and even if they like class it a lot, like the other person will get out, cause a lot of chaos, and then if Fatih and Max are on the other side, they'll just cap over and over.
Yeah.
Top team here.
What's interesting, I have the standings line up on again. If you watch, if Rank Thugs were to go on a losing streak here and do poorly in the season, they could fall all the way down in theory
Mm-hmm.
to 8th place. I think it would be somewhere like 6th.
Uh-huh.
Blockwork Orange, it looks like they at the very worst would be tied for 4th. So
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
they've already like done the heavy lifting. So it'll be interesting to see if they, beat Rank Thugs for one, if they kind of just mail it in at that point against 877.
What do you
Next,
mean by mail it?
just kind of not necessarily throw, but like take that game a little lighter than they have for the others.
I think they might be playing for stats. I don't think they would. I think they'd try still. If I was in their position, I'm playing for stats probably.
Yeah, I think CC should be worried because his pup record is going to be destroyed. Here comes Max, the new pup god. So speaking of gods, praying to the Tag Pro gods here.
Oh.
These are the teams that they need to win out, and they're also going to need some help. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, really the ultimate definition of the bubble right now, ball or nothing. 2-0-0 and 8, they're in last place, of course. DT, but there has been some movement. So DT, which I just found out was Dog Taco when I was talking to Wayne, and that cracks me up. I guess everyone already knew that, but it made me giggle. So there's DT, Swerve, Neb, and then CB13. I believe that is their lineup moving forward. They traded the Pink Prisoner for Swerve.
Yep.
Kind of a surprising move after all the drama that was surrounded behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really enjoy this team. I feel like I wish there was like 3 more weeks after this for them to have a chance to come back. I'm just high on Swerve. What can I say? um,
Yeah, I think this is a big upgrade because Cynical is essentially just like not playing, so they got like Swift for free pretty much.
right. And when you take a look at their schedule, it's actually not unreasonable to think they might be able to sweep out Red Hot Chili Poppers. That's going to be kind of a rivalry matchup, not according to Tantru, but anytime you get traded, I think both those players are going to play a little harder on the opposite side or the opposite team. So
Mm-hmm.
Swerve's going to look for a huge big game here. And then Smoothie Ping, like, I really like this team, but they're another team that's been pretty vulnerable so far. So
Hmm.
Ball or Nothing could sweep out, and it may be just enough to let them squeak into the playoffs. Do you think they have it in them to make this happen?
I could see a double sweep here,
Yeah.
but I think, or if they double sweep, what else do they need?
They would need a lot of help, and we'll probably end up kind of talking about that a bit more as we go on. But the bigger issue is they would need one of those 5-0-0-5 teams to lose every single game um, to
Mm.
be 100% surely in. Maybe one win, three losses gets them in, but to be 100% sure, they would need one of those teams to 100% lose out, and then they're taking care of business. What the good thing for them is they're taking care of business, or they have the opportunity to take care of business against other teams that are fighting for that spot. So if they beat those teams, they're kind of leapfrogging them in the standings, so to speak. The only one they can't touch is Chennai Super Pings.
Hmm.
So not the best case scenario, but it is plausible. And speaking of their rival, Tenchu's gonna email and say this is not a rivalry. Please stop saying that. But we have Red Hot Chili Poppers, another team on the bubble, but they're in a little better position because they have the OT win and the OT loss, so they got a little more points. They're in 11th place, 2-1-1-7 Tantru. Now it's Fender on offense, and then Arm Branch and Cynical on defense. That's the new lineup after all is said and done. What do you think of this lineup, and do you think they have a shot here? Because they got to play Ball or Nothing or Center of Attention to sneak in.
Yeah, I don't see them beating Center of Attention. I think the lineup is probably a little bit worse than before. I don't
Oh
think
wow, yeah.
Cynical Arm Branch is that good on Sphere, so I don't know. I'd have way more faith in Ball or Nothing making it in than Red Hot Chili Poppers. But I mean, anything's possible. So
Yeah, I think you're gonna need to see like a real big comeback tail end of the year from those players. The best player they might have picked up might have been actually Fender because he plays, if I'm not mistaken, if he's home at least, he's playing, in Houston or something like that. So he's very close. His Dallas ping is going to be very minimal,
hmm.
which may have gone into the thinking of uh, Tantru to pick him up and utilize that lower ping. The question for me is how quickly those guys are going to be able to mesh. And then, like you said, the bigger question is how will that defense fare with that ping? As you know, they are prisoners to that ping, some would say.
That's right.
I love my terrible jokes. I'll tell you a dad joke at the end of this. It'll be fun. Um,
Okay.
Stone Cold Stunner potential. So the tag pro is a fickle mistress. Um, we got Centra of Attention. That is the first team. Like these are teams I expect to make the playoffs, but they could potentially still lose out if they got double swept. So Goober, Shara, Wayne, Horse, the big addition since we last talked. We kind of talked about it on the pod. I didn't realize Yes had been dropped or released,
Hmm.
and they got kind of the interesting schedule. So Boats and Holds, another team struggling, and another team that made a lot of big moves, and then Red Hot Chili Poppers. I would say in order to get in, which I think is really their only concern, they probably just need to win maybe one, but maybe half of these games. And I personally, I think they're going to do it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a sweep against Red Hot. Western Holds made like a ton of changes, so I'm not sure how good their team is, but I'd probably have them sweeping week 6 as well. But I think they're 100% making playoffs.
Oh, 100%. Okay.
99.9%.
99. He's he's retracted his statement. He's scared. He's scared. I understand. But yeah, 99.9. I will say I 100.2% agree with you, which is even more
Nice.
than 100. I know. Yeah. Um, yeah, I would be stunned if they didn't make the playoffs, but I guess my question for you is, are you still of the same opinion of last time? Do you still think that this team's ceiling is, it sounded like second round maybe is what you were thinking last time we spoke?
Uh, I don't know if I was talking about playoffs or not. I think Group and Wayne go way harder in playoffs, so I think they'll play better in playoffs than they have in the regular season,
Hmm.
which is good. But I'd probably still have ABO over them and probably Rank Thugs, maybe even Holden Gate. But I don't. They could still upset people. I wouldn't be that surprised if they upset people.
Yeah, they're the. If I were to rank teams, the first two are true championship contenders, and to me, COA is also one of those true championship contenders. I would not be surprised if they were in the Superball this season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mainly because Wayne is Mr. Postseason, as we all know that.
Very true.
Sorry, Bright, you can't have all the nicknames, okay? So let's talk about Holden Gate. This is the team that has caught fire recently. I put them in the upper echelon because I would actually be pretty surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. But in this group, they're the most vulnerable team because they're only 5-0-0-5. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Currently in fourth place. Well, actually, I think that's a lie. I think they're actually in fifth place. Sorry. It's Easy, Kobe Bryant, Curry, and FK.
When you say caught fire, that's a bad thing, right?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Well, they if that were the case, they caught fire at the beginning of the season. When they caught fire, it means they're 5-0-0
gotcha,
and one
gotcha.
in their
Mm-hmm.
last six. So they've really been tearing the league apart. And I think last week, like people thought, oh, they're good, but they're middle tier. And then honestly, it just felt like they came out and punched Rank Thugs right in the mouth last week. And I
Yep.
also heard Curry say he thought they should have won the first game. But in fairness, Curry, after speaking with him, I don't think he thinks anybody is actually good at tag pro. I think, I think he thinks everyone's bad, including
That's my
himself,
opinion
which is
too.
hysterical. That's your opinion too.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you haven't seen me play, baby. So they have kind of an interesting tail end here. They got 877, which is going to be a slugfest because both these teams, they feel like it's a must win. And then they have Chennai Super Pings, which, depending how Chennai does this week, it'll see whether or not they're going to be going as hard in week 7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you see this team making the playoffs?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, like 99%. I
Yeah.
don't know about the 877 Caps now game. I could see them losing that, but I'd still probably have them over them. And then I think Chennai, they would definitely win. So yeah, I'd say like same with COA, 99%, and they'll do well in playoffs. I think Curry also tries hard. Easy plays really safe, which is important.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll see them doing a COA and like beating people or upsetting people.
Yeah. My big question mark here is, Easy and FK are experienced players, but they haven't played extensive amount of time at the majors level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a pressure situation to step into. They've obviously, five wins, one loss since they've come up. They've been answering the bell. And then Curry even said BDL, not a question mark, but Curry, I don't want to start rumors and things that Curry didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually say. But, he said BDL is doing BDL things, which is good. But to me, when somebody says that, it's always like, oh, this guy doing this things. To me, I'm always like, well, that's kind of a red flag. Like,
Yeah, I think it is.
it's, that's like, you don't want to hear somebody described that way. Like, oh, don't worry about John. He's just doing John things. Yeah, but he's peeing in the sink at this party. What's wrong with him? Like, that's gross. What's wrong with John? We don't have
Yeah, that's
time
what
for
BDL's
that.
doing.
Yes, that's. I hope BDL's name is John. That would be fantastic. Be like, how do you know? So yeah, there's some questions about them going at least for the postseason run. What do you think their ceiling is in terms of actually in the postseason, at least as of right now?
I think at most Curry will lose in the Super, but I think they'll probably lose to either ABO or Rank Thugs.
Oh wow, and they might have to play both of them honestly in the
Oh
playoffs
yeah,
as
that's
well.
true.
So so yeah, you can't take anything for granted there.
Mm-hmm.
Righto. Next up, K-poppers. I don't know why I said it like that, but I enjoy this logo so much because I like the Pillsbury Doughboy, and this guy kind of reminds me of the Pillsbury Doughboy. I don't know. He's great. Everything about this is awesome. And talking to Cheetos Rule was awesome too. He's a really cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Currently in third place. I think, you know what? Let me double check. I feel like oops, I've hit a button. I don't know what's happening. All right. Jam's great with computers. Yeah, they are currently in third place. Centra of Attention is in fourth, and then Holdin Gate is in fifth. Just to clarify, because I did have that slide wrong for Holdin Gate. But yeah, I am pretty high on this team for the regular season, especially the rest of the way. That's Megatron, Cheetos Rule, Masaki, and Rock G-Man. But I do have questions come playoff time. The rest of their season, they got Smoothie Ping, Boats, and Hold. I think they're pretty susceptible here to potentially being upset. They started off the season great, but they've really been splitting the last few weeks, and they've gone to OT a few times. Do you think? How do
I
you
didn't
project the
even
rest of their season?
I didn't notice they lost Red Hot. That's kind of grim because Red Hot was like collapsing, but they only got 2 out of 6 points there. I feel this is a weird team because even though they're like high in the standings, I would still take people like COA or Golden Gate over them probably.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they'd still make playoffs. I think they they only need like 50% wins, right, to make it probably.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to actually calculate because the standings are so compact. But
Uh-huh.
playing two teams that are um, 5-5 for Boats and Holes, and then I think 3-0, 1-6 for Smoothie. I think that puts them in a position that they definitely like control their own destiny. And if they split, I would say they're in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they need 2 wins. The question is they're playing two teams that have just kind of revamped their rosters a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's been talked about by many, but like the defense is a little bit of a question mark once the opposition gets out, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of favors Smoothie Ping for the next run, and then possibly even Boats and Hold too if Hat puts on a vintage Hat performance, so to speak. So I'm not as I think they're going to make it, but I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't. But of this group, this is the most vulnerable team to me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, moving on. Next up, this is the Kevin Garnett Adidas commercial. Anything is possible. You have to kind of yell it, but I don't want to yell right now. It's kind of late.
I don't really get the reference.
Oh
It's
my
okay.
gosh. Okay, so yeah, I guess you're too young, but like after Kevin Garnett was traded to the Boston Celtics, he had an
Mm-hmm.
Adidas commercial, and he was on a boat. It was very
Okay.
bizarre, and he just screams at the hilt of the boat like Titanic style. He just screams, "Anything is possible."
Okay.
It's very weird. Google it. Maybe we'll put a link in so people can see this commercial. Otherwise, yeah, this is just a weird division to be titled. So Chennai Super Pings first up. You told me yesterday this is your favorite team.
Yeah.
No. Just, I like making up lies to see how you'll react. 3-0, 1-6. A little bit of movement here too. Intercest Selfie was the midseason move, and Refined was the trade deadline move.
Mm-hmm.
Dropping CBivvy, picking up Refined, and Refined will team with Waterwheel. Do you think that's an upgrade?
I would say no, but I don't know much about either of them to say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't. I thought CPV was probably fine in the regular season, but maybe not. Yeah, I'd say it's probably not an upgrade, but I'm sure he did it for a reason. Refined and Waterwheel have played before, season 19 on D, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they can work it.
Yeah, I think that's an overlooked thing, and I mentioned it a lot with Messi and Wayne during the 10 podcast. But chemistry is just such a huge key factor, and I personally don't love seeing a lot of moves or big moves late in the season just because I feel like it's kind of like you're grasping at a straw.
Hmm.
If you're going to make the move, I think the way to do it is the way that Curry's done it the past few seasons, where he recognizes early something's not working and he doesn't try to wait it out. Unless something crazy falls into your lap that's not a clear upgrade, but definitely feels like an upgrade, I don't think there's a reason to make a move like that late.
Hmm.
But that chemistry could be huge. You said they played together before, and that's what their team needs is a little injection because they're just on the outside looking in, and they are in a really good position in regards to who they play to get in because both those teams are ahead of them. So you can chip away at both of them,
Ooh.
and you kind of have to. The flip side of that coin is both these teams are sleeper picks for Superball. um, Rektiles, last week that seemed like a pretty decent matchup for them. That's something they might be able to muscle into. But then the return of Doris is just a monster upgrade for Rektiles. So that's going to be a tough match for Chennai. And then we already said Holdin Gate's just been on fire. Uh, I don't think things are looking great for Chennai Super Pings.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule.
Yeah, it's a brutal.
Uh, yeah, I don't see it happening. I think Golden Gate wins.
Yeah,
I think Rectiles would at least split like they have been. So kind of grim, kind of tough.
yeah. I think we're kind of on the same page there, and it's not all hope is lost. I mean, if anything, we're
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
them that oh cool, nobody believed in us thing, which has helped countless sports teams win multiple championships. So like, not that we're doing you a favor by putting you down, but that is bulletin board material to say, hey, okay, let's prove everyone wrong. And this would be a great way to enter the playoffs if they come out and sweep, or even if they get 2 wins down the stretch, the tail end here. I think it would be pretty enormous for them.
Hmm.
Whether or not that's enough to get them in the playoffs is questionable. But if they do sneak out 2 wins, I could see them backdooring into that eighth speed.
Yeah.
Smoothie Ping, our good friends. Up next. Sorry, this logo makes me giggle. 3-0-0-5, kind of a down season. 10th place, GG Sun Chips. Fly, the big new pickup, and Pandora. Thoughts on the Fly pickup?
I think it's good. I don't know what was up with Sevens, but he like couldn't scrim ever or even like play some of the games. So I think it's probably an upgrade there.
Yeah, and this is not the same situation where I was saying before, like, oh, I don't like this move because it's a huge chemistry thing. Fly's played with them like half the season, so
Yeah.
she's been in there, and from what I understand, she's been helping them scrim at times too. So it
Hmm.
wasn't like this crazy maneuver. I think it's kind of interesting. I think it's an upgrade. I don't know if it'll be enough to get them over. I don't think people consider, not to knock Fly, I don't think people consider her like one of the top majors defenders in the same way they
Yeah.
don't consider me a good player. So, so it's not a knock. Like Fly's really effing good. Um, I don't think it's something that like is would be front page news if newspapers were still a thing.
Hmm.
But I do think it's a huge chemistry pickup and it's a good like locker room pickup, so to speak. And I do think we're starting to see that offense come together, Gigi and Sunships, down the stretch here. And now it's like it's put up for shut up time for them. Like this offense has been highly touted since week one. And it's up to the defense. And they have a pretty favorable schedule, I would say. They play K-Poppers, which isn't favorable, but as we noted, that is the team most likely to slip out of that first group we had mentioned. So, and then Ball or Nothing. Like if Ball or Nothing loses one game this week, I think they, may not be as excited to play the final week.
Hmm.
So I can see Smoothie Ping winning 3 here, which I think would be enough to get him in.
I don't know if you have the inside scoop like I do here, but week 6 for uh Smoothie Pings. I don't know if I can say why, but someone may not show up, so to speak.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Which I think.
I
Yeah.
totally have the inside scoop, but why don't you say who that might be, just so I know that you know.
I don't know. You'll know on Sunday or whenever they play, but I don't think it's something you can reschedule. So
Yikes.
it really sucks for them.
That's a bummer. Is it O or D? Can we say that?
It's D.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
There you go.
So
Bleak.
maybe Sevens will be playing this week after all.
Yeah, maybe.
um, there are some. So who are the options as a sub right now, if that should occur? I know Yes would be available in theory.
I guess Sevens could actually do it. I'm not sure if he would play or if he can.
Yeah,
Uh,
Sevens possibility.
yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't think their team would have a very good chance against K-popers.
Well, it'll be interesting because if it's a defensive player, then that will become if they can play it to their favor, it'll become a hold fest. And GG and Sunships are very good at holding, um, but they do need to find somebody who can get those returns. And if they don't have that, that's going to be very problematic against K-popers because K-popers are an elite offense as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, inside scoop and not great news. Does change my prognosis for them? I had them as the most likely to sneak into the playoffs, but now I don't know that that's the case. You hate to hear it.
Yeah,
All right, so this is the dealer's choice section, which
of
basically
course.
means the fate is in their own hands. First up, the Rektiles. Somebody gave me their original logo, and it was actually much cooler and way more. It, it incorporated the reptile a lot more than what I could think of, and I just didn't have time to take another crack at it. But uh, yeah, so this team is 5-0-0-5. It does say 4 there. That's because I like them. I don't know. It's just a mistake.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Dragon Beast first, Doris Griff. Doris returning after the trade. So Ego was traded for Griff, and then Doris was able to come back. So defense kind of, I think like a lot of people had high expectations of the Doris Ego defense.
Mm-hmm.
I still like it as Doris and Griff. Like I think Griff's great. She's a great player.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much this very similar defense. I think Ego might be a little bit better, but apparently he's like lagging a little bit, so it might be an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean that would be a huge upgrade, and I kind of liked the trade at the time just because I thought for Rektiles, like when Doris was out, at least when we thought Doris was out, it was just like, all right, well, sure, if
Wrap
they're
it
gonna
up.
make a trade, you might as well try something, just
Yeah.
something to inject some energy. And then Doris came back, so it was kind of like this 2-for-1 trade almost, and it was like, oh man, that's crazy. Um, their schedule the rest of the way interesting to say the least. So they have Chennai, and it seems like on paper they might be able to take care of business there. But then they go toe to toe with ranked thugs, which could be an absolute slugfest. That might be game of the week 7. I think they get in. As of right now, I would be more surprised if they didn't get in. What are your thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I think Chennai they win against ranked thugs probably not, but yeah, I think 50% gets them in. I think I'll say like 90% they get in.
Yeah, and I think
Their
like
team's like
honestly, go ahead.
yeah. I was just gonna say the team's like pretty much the same with Griffin said at Ego, maybe a
Mhm.
little bit better.
Yeah, I think the team is super duper interesting. Just because for me, before the Doors move, they were my sleeper pick for everything. Doris was my sleeper MVP, um, and then they were my going to be my sleeper pick in the playoffs. And I think week 7 is gonna tell us a lot about that team. Well, I mean, week 6 might if they get swept here. We'll be like, oh, I was not as accurate as I thought. But should they take care of business, I think week 7 is a match that I'm kind of looking forward to because it'll
Mm-hmm.
tell me whether or not Rank Thugs make this a 5-team race, or it's just going to remain a top 4-team race. 877 caps now. I think you said to me this is your favorite logo.
I don't know about that. I like the color scheme though.
Yeah, the color scheme's pretty good. What's your favorite logo? Smoothie Ping? Oh, thanks, man. That's super nice.
Probably
uh,
K-popers.
oh, yeah, K-Poppers is actually really great. That Pillsbury Doughboy is fantastic. Although he doesn't really look like, whatever. 6th place, 500 on 5, Bam, Protag, Ginny, and Spork. Bam's done everything that I've said that I like teams to do. And for that reason,
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like this team. They made the trade early. It
Yeah.
seemed like a huge upgrade. And Ginny's playing great on defense. I kind of like that they can, like Spork and Ginny are both really good. So if they find themselves on the other side of the tile, they're both really good offenders. It
Yep.
might, and Bamboozler's like a good defender as well. So
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of balls that can play multiple positions.
Yeah.
What I don't like is they're scheduled the rest of the way. It's brutal. So Holden Gate and a Blockwork Orange.
Oh.
Tough matchups for sure. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so good news, bad news here. Good news, you get to test your playoff medal here.
Okay.
You have to win at least one of these games, one of the 4.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely want to win at least 2 of them. And the statement is if you win 3 or 4. Everyone realizes then that 877 is much more legit and they deserve more recognition than they've been receiving all season.
Yeah.
Um, do you think they get in? Do you think they're able to pull out 1 or 2 here?
I don't think against Blockwork, so that means they have to like come through in the Boats and Holds game.
Holden Gate?
Honest. Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Holden Gate. Honestly, even wait, if they lose both, are they eliminated? Like, probably.
Not probably, but it does really put a dent in their chances. Because if they were to lose both based off of everything we've kind of talked about now, I'll pull up the standings again here. If they lose both, they go to 500 and 9. That probably puts them down at the 8th seed. And you got Chennai, Smoothie Ping, and Red Hot all kind of nipping at the heels. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Based off what we've discussed, though, it may be unlikely that any of those teams are able to leapfrog into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But like if they win 2, they're in for sure. I would say I'd be stunned if they won 2 and somehow got bounced out.
Yeah.
If they win
I was gonna
1, their
say.
chances are like probably like 75 to 80%. I would say.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say I like them on like any fast map, and
Mm-hmm.
like all the maps they play are fast. But I don't think against Blockwork it would matter that much. But against Holden Gate it might. But then Holden Gate also beat Ranked Thugs on Jardum, so they're also like a good fast-paced map team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's their best chance. Maybe stealing one on Jardum. They destroyed Rektiles on Jardum.
Yeah.
I could see something happening there.
Well, both kind of fast maps, Jardum and Merrill.
Yeah.
I could see. Yeah, I could see. I kind of agree with you. I think if they're going to get 1 or 2 wins, it's got to come against Holden Gate.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe we learn a little more about Blockwork Orange. I mean, we certainly will over the next 2 weeks. But if Blockwork doesn't play well against ranked thugs, Curry was the first one to point out like they haven't played anyone. Like maybe 877 is got a much better shot than we think. I don't know. I like this team. They're kind of a sleeper pick, but it's hard for me to pick against the hottest team in majors this right
Yeah.
now, and then the best team in majors, actually they might even be hotter than Holden Gate. So kind of tough draw for 877. But
Yeah. Definitely.
I think they sneak into the playoffs though, regardless of what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I'm full of hot takes. They don't call me hot takes for nothing. Boats and holds are next. This is your good friends.
That's right.
All of them. This they've actually rebranded. to be the bright buddies. 7th place right now, 5-0-0-5. Hat, CC, GA4, Omar, and Ego. Omar, the big pickup. CC switching to offense now, it seems. And then Ego, the trade acquisition. Feels like they get in just based off that roster.
Yeah, I think
But
it's a decent upgrade.
yeah, I there was a little turmoil in the locker room, and I think the big moves were made. And they don't have the easiest schedule though. Like COA and K-popers, like ranked 3 and 4 right now. And I gotta be honest with you, like the COA game, I like COA a little more personally.
Yeah, I think so. I think they could get a split for sure, but I'd lean COA in that matchup. And like K-popers is also a hard matchup, but
Yeah,
I think it's more even than the COA game.
I think for me it's going to be a tale of two games. Is what can defense for Boats and Holds do against the COA offense in that game, and then how productive will the offense of Boats and Holds be against the K-popers defense in Week 7? So a little bit of a pressure situation, especially because they haven't had. I mean, like they've been friends for quite some time, and I'm sure they've played together in either past seasons or pubs, whatever. But the chemistry for this season um, hasn't exactly come. So
Yeah.
now they're in a pressure cooker because they basically have an entire new team when you think about it. Omar is new, Ego new, and then CC switching positions. So that chemistry really has to be on point. And I think that's going to be the biggest question mark, whether they can do enough to get in. Do you think they make playoffs here?
I think so. I think even though their schedule's hard, they can pull something here.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Bright likes his friends. So, final predictions. We've kind of talked about everyone now. We're going to pull up the standings again. Do you see anyone from that bottom under the dotted line there sneaking in?
Honestly, probably not. I think Chennai's team, or yeah, I'm not sure, but I think their team is worse than before.
Mm-hmm.
I think Smoothie Pings has that week 6 thing happening, so probably not.
Yeah,
And
big
I think
Danny
Red
hit.
Hot is worse than before. I think Ball or Nothing has I think they have the chance to win the most games, but I think they might be too low to. I don't know if they're gonna sweep all 2 games,
Yeah,
but I think if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be Ball or Nothing.
yeah.
Hot
Kind
take.
kind of wild when looking at the ledger.
Yeah,
I don't think everybody would have expected if any of those teams were to sneak in, but Ball or Nothing, the most likely to sneak in. Um,
maybe. Yeah.
uh, and I think we kind of agree with that just based off all the knowledge and whatnot that we have. But I just don't. I think, like you just said, I think it's too big a hill to climb.
Hmm.
No margin for error, really. They got to definitely win 3, and then they need like an OT loss or an OT win because if they lose, they're just at the record that everyone else is at now. Um, and then I think the tiebreaker would likely be head to heads, and I'm guessing that they didn't they didn't fare that well against the teams that they would potentially be squaring off with in the head to heads. Just one man's take, Bright. But yeah, sorry, let me actually pull up their schedule real quick. Because yeah, they lost 8-7-7 caps now. So if 8-7-7 finishes at 5 and they finish at 5, if it's head to head is the tiebreak, then 8-7-7 is in.
True.
They split with Rektiles, but the cap diff against Rektiles, I don't know if that will make a difference, but that favors Rektiles.
Hmm.
And then split with Boats and Hold, but the cap diff favors Boats and Hold. But looking at their schedule, actually, I mean, like they've had a pretty brutal schedule too up until this point. Because they played both top 2 teams,
Hmm.
but they did avoid 3 and 4, so whatever, all the same. But yeah, I think to wrap things up here, go back to the standings real quick. Yeah, I would be hard pressed to pick any of the teams from falling out.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be a shocking thing, and it'll be interesting to see. I think Smoothie Ping, for me, if they can figure out a sub or a replacement, or maybe even a defensive call up for minors, or maybe they can somehow convince Epiphany to just come in for one game. One more match, Epip. You got it in you.
I think that would do it.
Can you imagine if they allowed that? That'd be amazing. Yeah, but I mean, I think we've pretty much covered everything, man.
Uh-huh.
I think we've done it. So yeah, thank you for joining me.
No problem, sir.
I'm just gonna play us out with some sweet, sweet music. It's not reggae this time, though.
Play it.
Yeah. This is R.W. Smith, by the way. Song is called Tune In. I don't monetize, but I don't know. It's nice to give the artist a shout out.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you should monetize.
It's just those pennies I'd get are very important.
It adds up.